Well, hello. Fancy seeing you here. And today we are doing an FPL preview on, you guessed it, Boxing Day. Merry Christmas, one and all. Have a holly jolly Christmas. But let's see if we can have a holly jolly week of FPL in game week 19. And this is the preview, the proper preview. I kind of did a preview last week, kind of showing about my game week 18 team, kind of thoughts ahead of game week 19 and 20. But I'm also going to be doing the main all your game week 19 in one, basically. So this is my proper preview of the game week because we didn't really know what was going on. But now we've got all the information at our fingertips. We've got 3 games being postponed yet again. So let's hope it's just like game week 17 in the fact that it's only 3 matches that are missing out. Obviously, if there's last minute postponements, there's last minute postponements. What can we do? But to our knowledge, the blank game week this week is Wolves against Watford, Liverpool Leeds, and now it is also Burnley against Everton. So anyone that was thinking about DCL, do not do it. But anyway, let's get into this game week. And let's just talk through what my strategy was basically going into this game week. So I've got here my lovely little spreadsheet that is the season keeper in terms of my planning ahead for future game weeks. This shows what transfers I've made. I haven't actually fully finished it at this point because I'm still working on it. But it really helps me see what I'm kind of doing in future game weeks. And this shows you what type of game weeks they are. So, you know, you got this game week, for instance, which is a blank game week. You've got an upcoming possible blank. It's not confirmed, but Leeds Villa probably going to not happen. The reason I think that is because Liverpool Leeds is off this week, and Leeds, chances of them being ready for Villa, I don't know. And also single game week most likely because for 21 the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup are looking like they're second legged, so there's only going to be one match for most teams in that game week. Might be a late double game week, but if it is, then that's fine. We can just make that decision on the day, right? Because I'm going to be previewing that game week 21, but obviously at the time of recording that, it will probably be that the information I have is only a single game week. So we'll just prepare for that, and then any changes we make, then we'll just make them. And then probably post-January, when we start to review some of these game weeks at the end of the year, that's when we can tell you what kind of different things we said from our previous original video. So, yeah, it's interesting, really. But my strategy going into this I was thinking about was that really what I want to do is make use of my chips correctly. So I thought what I might do was free hit in game week 22. That was an option. And then I could free hit out all of my Man City and Liverpool players because of the fact that they have difficult games. And also I could free hit out my Chelsea players because they blank in 24 and 25, as you can see with against Arsenal and Brighton. So that was one option. And another option was in game week 22, in game week 21 into game week 22, I could wildcard, and then that way I can get in players. Imagine there is a double game week in 21. I could get in players that have doubles in 21 and in 22. The chances of there being a double in game week 21 is less likely now, but you never know. And then the idea would be, well, that wildcard team I put together would be so good in terms of squad depth. I could bench boost in game week 22 when there's all the double fixtures. And that way I save my free hits, my 2 free hits for future blanks and doubles. Now, of course, that is the main breaking news to react to. The fact that the Premier League and FPL have given us a future and an extra free hit chip. So what the free hit chip is, it changes your whole team for a single game week and then reverts back to what your team was before you made those changes. That's going to be really helpful when it comes to all these postponements because it means that we don't have to take massive points hits every week. But the only issue is it doesn't solve the issue long term, right? You still have, if you have a team full of team being basically in COVID outbreaks, and then you do it for 1 week, oh yeah, you got a great game week score in game week 19, but you didn't actually solve the issue going into future game weeks, right? But the idea is, if you free hit and then you wildcard after that, or you bench boost, then you're going to free hit into some good points, and then you might not have many postponements by then because the postponements eventually will decrease. So that's the thinking, basically. Those were my 2 options. But what I'm thinking is I might actually not do it that way. I might actually change my strategy for the chips. And some players that I kind of wanted this week to do well were actually my Watford and Liverpool players. So that's really unfortunate that Liverpool versus Leeds, Wolves against Watford, and now Burnley against Everton have been postponed because I wanted Josh King to do really well. I brought him in ahead of this run against Palace, Burnley and Wolves, and he's had all 3 games postponed. So it's just so unlucky with the Watford outbreak. And also, I wanted Salah for this week because it was just written in the stars. Another hat-trick against Leeds. Lovely stuff. Captaincy sorted for another week. If you're looking at captaincy so far this season, right, I haven't filled out the whole thing, but look how many times I've turned towards Salah. So many, right? These are all the times I've captained him, and captains are there in red. And weeks that I haven't captained him, like game week 9, when I captained Kane, I've massively suffered. So, look, it's not ideal, right? But it is what it is. We roll with it. And there were some players I was looking at this game week and thinking, I kind of want to own you. One of them was Antonio. But now I'm thinking, actually, I've probably done well to avoid him because it's looking like he probably might play, but it's always a doubt when he contracted COVID. Now, David Moyes said that about a week ago that he was still isolating, so he's possibly back out of his isolation period for this Southampton game. But even if he is, right, he's not going to be 100%, and even if he is 100%, he's not been in great form. So it's not like it's a must-get, especially with him being flagged. Bowen is the one that I am a bit more worried about, okay? I'm not going to lie, because I thought about this very, very logically. I thought last game week, I want someone on my bench that I'm going to be happy to bench and miss out their points. But at least they'll be there if I need to be getting their points with a postponement, right? So what was I thinking? Well, I was thinking, I don't want to miss out on Bowen's points in future game weeks, so therefore I don't want to keep him. So what I could have done was sold Douglas Luiz last week and got Saka. But I did Douglas Luiz, sitting on my bench, sold Bowen, got Saka in, right? I'm happy I got Saka in ahead of Norwich for sure, and after his goal against Leeds. And I'll probably keep Saka for Wolves as well, and then sell him in 21. But what I'm saying here is, basically, Bowen is still a good option for this week, right? West Ham still will fancy their chance against Southampton. However, generally West Ham have been a bit up and down, so you can't always trust their assets. And I also think that, he's that kind of price point. But the problem I've got is there are bigger priorities this game week right now that have cropped up. So they include the likes of Ronaldo and Son Heung-min, and we'll talk about them in a bit. Foden as well is an interesting one. I own Bernardo Silva. I honestly think out of the two, Foden is better. But off the back of last game week when he got into trouble with Jack Grealish, a bit of a cheeky boy ahead of the Christmas period. He's on Santa's naughty list. That is a worry, right, for people that own him. But obviously you're going to back him to play again this week because he's probably sorted it out by now, you'd imagine. But I still think moving from Bernardo to Foden is just pointless. And I also think the triple up for City with the Pep Roulette and with December rotation, what you got to remember as well is this game week is only a few days before game week 20, right? Game week 20 is in midweek, Tuesday games after the Monday game for Newcastle United. So it's crazy. It's a crazy turnaround. So there could be a lot of rotation, and that is Pep's speciality. I understand could be the same thing for Chelsea and the too short on Bola, but I think that people like Rudiger, who I own, and James are much more nailed. And look, you could see someone like Alonso drop out maybe, but I don't own him. So it's not too bad. I think I've set myself up quite well for this couple of games. I was also thinking about moving Rudiger on to Diaz, but I think the next 2 fixtures for Chelsea might as well get the most out of those double up of Rudiger and James, and then maybe think about Diaz. But I think right now, with all the chaos of the postponements, another double up is not a good idea. I've already got Cancelo. I'd just stick to the Chelsea double up for now. And maybe when I've got in maybe a better, what I'm saying is, right, I like the look of Diaz, but I think when I want to sell Rudiger, then that's the excuse to get Diaz in. I don't think it's the right time now. And also I was thinking about maybe Rafinha, but that's probably a game week 20 onwards thing, or even 21, because if Leeds, as I said, is maybe postponed against Villa because of their outbreak of cases, then that's the thing to think about. But yeah, game week number 19, these are the moves I'm thinking, right? So I'm just going to, before I get to my transfers, I'm going to open up my team selection, and then we can go through player by player. But do catch me in my Game Week 20 preview, my Game Week 21 preview as well. They'll be separate videos. So in terms of reviewing these game weeks, there won't be many of them, I'll be honest. I'm probably going to have a break over the New Year and stuff. So there'll be reviews probably late January, right? That's what I'm thinking. And we'll probably just make transfers, and then there'll be a massive video like going through a lot of game weeks and catching you all up. But there's not much time, so I'll probably just leave it at that, to be honest. Those 3 previews, including this one. So what I'm saying here is I'm going to look at my game week 19 selection and we'll talk you through it. So first of all, right, Ramsdale in goal, Norwich. I think we talked about this in the last video, but it's a great fixture. Hopefully a clean sheet for Arsenal. And I don't think there'll be many save points for Ramsdale, but I think it might not be too bad, right? We can live with it. Next up, we've got Trent, right? So Trent, obviously, he's an interesting one. Do I play him this week? The answer is probably not. I knew that he's not got a fixture, but it's a difficult one because Douglas Luiz is not exactly ideal. But you'd rather a player that was playing than a bench fodder, right? So, although, of course, he's not great of an FPL option and I need to sell him soon, this is not the week when he's got a fixture. So Douglas Luiz will be coming in, and that is my selection locked in, right? So now you're thinking, oh, that's not too bad, actually. You've got 11 players on the pitch in terms of FPL, but you've got 10 playing players and possibly 9 if Manquillo doesn't play, right? Okay, fair enough. So let me talk you through it. So Ramsdale, as I mentioned, Norwich, Pukki's been quite bad recently. Norwich have had a few games postponed, to be fair to them, but I think hopefully 6 points at least for Ramsdale. James against Villa, I think hopefully that's some attacking returns. I just think Chelsea are quite good still, right? They're defensively improving at times this season, but generally it's been a bit of a slump. But even if Villa do score, which I think they could through Watkins, and I'm going to talk about the risk of that, then that does take away the clean sheet for James, but equally I think there's probably more chance of a Chelsea clean sheet. So that's why I've got the Chelsea double up, and I've had that for a few weeks now. Cancelo, I might not vice captain him, we'll find out. Manquillo, he's on his last limbs in my team. Rudiger, again, good fixture and good attacking threat. Douglas Luiz is an interesting one, but I don't think he'll be staying much longer. It's just that in fact he plays this week. That's all it is, right? Obviously, you want a better squad depth than this, but I would rather have players on my bench, like the last few weeks, right, for instance. I've had a lot of 0-0s on my bench, and I prefer that than loads of points on my bench, because that's what I've had in the past, and I've really, really regretted it. So I think it was the previous game week. I'm not sure which one. Yeah, so I've had really good game week scores. I've had good green arrows, but I've not regretted anything on the bench, and that is a nice change from beforehand when I was getting loads of points. So like Douglas Luiz, look, that was not a massive miss out, but it's only an assist against Man City. But what can you do? He just takes corners. That's why he's a good 4.5 option. Then you had, all right, previous game week, that was fine. The previous game week, though, I had Rudiger, and that was because I had so many good options in my team. So I wanted to downgrade some of these bench fodder so that I had less of a decision to make in terms of benching. I know what people are going to say. Over this COVID crisis, you have to have a really strong bench. I get it, right? But I'd rather have a playing player that's not that good than have loads of really good players, if you get what I mean. And I do want to get really good players, and that is the move that I'll be making from game week 20 onwards. Once I've made these game week 19 transfers, I'll probably have a full squad of good players. But like the last few weeks, I haven't wanted to, because I've been doing well enough fielding even 10 players last game week, right? So I had Bernardo game week 11 on the bench. Foster was just unlucky because I played him against Arsenal. I wouldn't have played him. I'd always have played Ramsdale. And the previous game week, it was someone else. It was Ramsdale, right? That was unfortunate. I also had the previous game week to that. It was Antonio. So look, there's been a lot of benching headaches, and I just don't want to face that again. So my thinking is this week, try and sort out some of my lack of squad depth, but at the same time, I don't have to do too much, right? So this is what I'm thinking, right? So Ramsdale in goal should be fine. The back three, at least, should be fine. Manquillo is an issue that I need to sort out. Douglas Luiz, I don't have to probably sort that out till game week 20. Salah, I mean, his game getting postponed is such a big blow. But what we're going to probably do is we're going to probably have to sell him, right? Just because, although he's got a lot of value in my team, right? 13.1 million, that is a lot of money. And I think I got him for 12.5. So that's basically, I have to sell him at 12.8. So basically, it's not ideal, right? Because the amount I've bought him for means that I'm going to lose value if I sell him. And you can only get value but by every 0.2 basically. So yeah, it's not the best situation. I'm going to admit this, but at the same time, I think it's worth it, right? Because look, the fixtures. I know Salah's amazing and he can easily punish us. I get this, right? But I'm just going to take the L in the Leicester game and the Chelsea game. I'm just going to take the L because I wanted to sell Salah anyway because of AFCON, right? I know what you're going to say. Oh, well, what if AFCON gets postponed and Salah stays throughout all these games? I get that, but that's going to be when that happens, if and when, which is unlikely because I think they're saying it's going to go ahead. So what I'm saying is he's time to go, right? The fact he's got a fixture this week means moving to someone like Son or Ronaldo is much, much better, and you can get both of them if your money stretches that far, which would be an interesting one. And then you got Chelsea. You wouldn't back against Chelsea, right? Obviously, I'll probably sell those Chelsea defenders by then. But let's say I kept Salah, right? I probably would have still moved on Salah in Game Week 21 or maybe even Game Week 20. So the fact that I'm selling him this week is not too much of a shock, right? It's only a game week ahead of time. So I don't think it's a nightmare. Obviously, it's Salah. We know how good he is and we'll want him back later. But that's much later down the line when we can change budget around by then and we can sort things out. We can take a points hit to get Salah back later down the line. But that's quite far away right now. Saka, he's good for Norwich. And I know he's currently on captain, but it probably won't be him. I don't even know at this point. Bernardo, Leicester, right? Obviously, good fixture because Leicester are quite defensively poor. We mentioned we're going to be watching behind the sofa for that Leicester-Liverpool game. But Bernardo, obviously, hopefully plays a bit more attacking this game week. And I know that Foden and De Bruyne are probably better options. But look, Bernardo has been playing the last couple of games. Hopefully, he'll be back to his best. Watkins against Chelsea, again, not ideal because I've got them playing against my Chelsea defenders. But I still think Watkins, if I hadn't no other issues, I probably would have kept him ahead of the good run of fixtures. But with what I've mentioned about the Leeds Villa game, maybe he's worth selling. I don't know at this point, but it was an interesting one because what I could have done was done a -4 this week and kept Watkins, or I could sell Watkins, right? So that's the thing I've got to think about. Lacazette against Norwich, no way he's going for me. You can't sell a player ahead of Norwich, and probably will be selling in 21. But look, he's got a nice fixture. All right, Wolves won't be easy because they're quite defensively stubborn, but I still think he's good for that one. And then Foster, Trent, Jota, and King. So obviously it's no bench, but that's the way it's gone with the postponements. So let me talk you through my transfers, and then we will not make them, of course. We're going to make them literally a minute before Boxing Day, and then we'll get into it. But look, it is what it is. This is my team for Game Week 19 as it stands. But my transfers are the following. Manquillo out for Ben Davies. I know what you're going to say. Ben Davies, not that good. But I didn't have the money to get Reguilon, right? Because I want Ronaldo and I want Son. Sonaldo, thank you very much, right? Okay, fair enough. Maybe I should have just been a bit less greedy and gone for Son and then delayed Ronaldo to next week because at least Watkins has got a fixture against Chelsea. But my argument is, right, if I think that Villa Leeds might not go ahead, then that just means I would be selling Watkins this next game week anyway. So it saves me a transfer by making it now. I know what you're going to say. A -8 hit is a big hit, right? I get that. But I also think Ronaldo could easily make up that points difference. Son as well. I think those two are very good captaincy shouts, Son and Ronaldo this week, with the absence of Salah especially. And Ben Davies is not ideal. I want Reguilon, but I can't afford all three of them. So I had to get Ben Davies. He's a bit cheaper than Reguilon at 4.5. And he's got Palace as well. He's been playing recently. Reguilon actually might even be less nailed than Davies. I never thought I'd say that, but I'm just saying that because recently Sessegnon, when he was fit, was playing, and he wasn't always playing when Reguilon was playing, right? But obviously he played 85 minutes against Liverpool, Sessegnon, and then Reguilon played 4 minutes. And I know that Reguilon's going to play the next couple of games because Sessegnon is out. But Sessegnon will be back by, I think, the start of January. And then we don't know how much Reguilon is going to play. I get what you're saying when you say Reguilon's got more attacking threat, but I just think Ben Davies has been playing quite regularly under Conte. And I think that will carry on. I get that he might not play the odd game, of course. He's not as attacking as Reguilon, but he's still probably going to play. If not, that's fine. I'll take it on the chin. But I just think I need to start improving my squad depth, my bench depth, because recently that has not, I wouldn't say hurt me, because I mentioned it's quite a nice thing to know that you're not missing out on any points on the bench, but eventually, right, when we get to these free hits and these doubles and blah, 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 you're going to want a strong team overall, especially ahead of a bench boost, whenever that may be. So what I'm saying here is Manquillo has just got to go, okay? He's got an illness. I get that he'll probably be back for Manchester United, but I wouldn't have wanted him that game week anyway. So it just makes sense, those 3 moves. So once I've done those 3 moves, I'll probably be playing, I'll be playing Son, Davies, Ronaldo. I'll be playing all 3 of those, and I've got Manquillo, Salah, and Watkins all starting in that formation. So this is the formation I'll have, but obviously replacing Manquillo there will be Ben Davies against Palace. I think Palace defensively, they've been improved, so I think there could be goals for Son, but I also think, there can be a bit up and down. Gallagher one week can score and the next week can do nothing. Benteke is very inconsistent. Edouard the same. I just think, hopefully, right, I know the Spurs defence has not been that reliable in the past, but hopefully, with the good fixtures coming up against the teams of Watford and Southampton, I think there can be better games for the Spurs defence. And Son against Palace will be a good one. I think Son is just the best replacement for Salah, right? I know it's a sad thing to say goodbye to Salah, and fair play to the people that are free hitting, right? But that doesn't solve my problem. My problem is I've got Douglas Luiz and Manquillo. I need to get rid of one of them because there's not enough squad depth. And I also need to really sell Salah to allow me to get Ronaldo. And I did sell Ronaldo quite recently, to be fair. I sold him in Game Week 17. But it's just worth sometimes doing a switcheroo and getting these players back, even though you've recently sold them, because they're just the best options when the current climate of these postponements does arise. So those are my transfers, locked in for Game Week number 19, -8 hit. So that will put me to an overall points tally at the moment. Obviously, it's just early days, so we don't have to get too panicked. But at the moment, it would be, okay, it's fine. It's not too bad. It's 1,084 points. We'll take it on the chin, right? We'll go again. It's not actually 1,084, 1,083, I should say. Can he do his maths? No, he cannot. So yeah, that is my team. What are we talking about with captaincy, though? So in terms of the captaincy, it's going to have to be one of Son or Ronaldo. I'm not going to lie. So therefore, we're putting the captaincy right now on Ollie Watkins, right? Not because we want to, but because that's probably going to be for Ronaldo. So what we're thinking is Ronaldo captain and Son vice captain. Now, what I'm thinking is, what if the games get postponed? Of course, that could happen. But the chances of Spurs against Palace getting postponed versus Newcastle Man United, to be fair, it's probably more likely Man United game gets postponed. Even though I think United are pretty much over their COVID thing. So I saw Ronaldo in training, blah, blah, blah. It should be fine. But let's just say Ronaldo doesn't play. That's fine then, because we've already had Son play before him. So what I'm thinking is Ronaldo, he is so good, right? I remember when he brought him in Game Week 4, and that was such a good transfer I made for his 13-pointer against Newcastle. Sue! And I know what you're going to say, right? Freddie Woodman was in goal then. It's not him anymore. It's Martin Dubravka. But it's still Ronaldo. He's the best player in the world. Don't overthink it. And I didn't captain him that game when he did so well against Newcastle. And now there's the chance to do it. I just can't pass it up. Now, I know Palace is a good fixture for Son. He could easily score in that. He has got a good record against the Eagles. But I think Ronaldo is one you got to back this week. And maybe we think about Son against Southampton in Game Week 20. So that is my captaincy. My vice-captaincy is going to be Son Heung-min. So there we go. Salah is no more in my team. And that is my team without transfers made, locked in for Game Week 19. I hope you have enjoyed this FPL preview proper. We did talk about it briefly. So if you want to go back to my last video before this, do check it out. Reviewing 18 and a little preview of 19. But this is the final touches, really, on this hectic Boxing Day round of games. Thanks for watching. And I shall see you in the next one. Bye-bye. And by the way, Trent and Jota, they've got to stay for the double up, possibly in Game Week 22 for Liverpool.